Hi guys, are you ready for your stories tonight? This first one is called Little Red Riding Hood. That's cool. They made the O's out of her bike wheels. Here's a farmer. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived at the edge of a great prairie. Because she always wore a jacket with a red hood when she rode her bike, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Now one morning, as Little Red Riding Hood sat eating her favorite wheat berry muffins, she had an idea. "Mom," she said, "it's going to be a real scorcher today." That means really hot out. "Grandma sure would love it if I brought her some muffins and lemonade. You know how crabby she gets in the heat." Little Red Riding Hood loved visiting her grandmother. "Great idea," her mother said.
And Little Red Riding Hood finds a fox.
Well, don't tell. So Little Red Riding Hood's mother packed the still warm wheatberry muffins and cold lemonade into a basket. After airing up the tires on her bike and testing the brakes, Little Red Riding Hood set out on her way. "Now don't forget," called her mother, "go straight to Grandma's. And whatever you do, don't talk to strangers." "Sure, Mom," Little Red Riding Hood promised. Little Red Riding Hood pedaled down Toad Road, past the gas station, the feed store, and the old Wilson place. She waved at everyone she saw, and everyone waved back. As the edge of town disappeared and the prairie began, Little Red Riding Hood zigzagged between the crops, taking the shortcut to Grandma's house. Blackbirds startled and sunflowers swayed as she whizzed by. "What a nice visit this will be," Little Red Riding Hood said. "Grandma simply adores muffins and lemonade." But who should be cutting through that same field and up to no good, I might add, but a very hungry wolf. When the smell of those wheatberry muffins came wafting his way, the wolf's nose quivered. "Gadzooks," he whispered. "What is that scrumptious smell?" The wolf rushed toward the heavenly odor. "Whatever it is, I must have it," he growled.
Yep, it's like the movie I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With one giant leap, the wolf landed right in front of Little Red Riding Hood's bicycle. "Aha!" he roared. Little Red Riding Hood slammed on her brakes. "Hey, be careful," she shouted. "You could get hurt surprising someone like that." The wolf chuckled at the warning. "What's in the basket, dearie?" he asked with a wide-toothed grin. "Muffins and lemonade," Little Red Riding Hood said slowly, "for my grandmother." "But such a tantalizing smell," the wolf drooled. "They must be very special muffins." "Oh, they are," Little Red Riding Hood said proudly. "They're my grandma's secret recipe, and they always take first prize at the fair." The wolf licked his lips. "She must be a dear, sweet woman," he crooned. "Do you have very far to travel?" "Oh, no," Little Red Riding Hood answered. "Just over that ridge, this side of Turkey Creek." The wolf smirked, his mouth curling up at the corners. "How fortunate." "Well, I have to go," Little Riding Hood said quickly. "Grandma's waiting." The wolf slyly turned in the opposite direction and pointed. "Ooh," he gasped, "what beautiful flowers. Such a dear, sweet grandmother surely deserves some of those." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. "Gee, you're right," she said, jumping off her bike. "Grandma loves flowers. Do you think she'd like these white ones too?" But the whistle of the prairie wind was the only response. The wolf was gone. Of course, the wicked wolf had a dastardly plan. "Hardy har har," he laughed wildly as he raced through the wheat. "First I surprise that feeble old granny and steal her recipe. Then I wait for the kid in the red jacket to show up with the treats. Soon I'll hold the secret to those delectable muffins, and those 2 country bumpkins won't know what hit them." His evil chuckles drifted through the fields.
He's going to the grandma's.
Yep. When the wolf arrived at Grandma's house, he found a note on the door. "Little Red Riding Hood out in the field. Love, Grandma." "This'll be easier than I thought," the wolf snarled. "Grandma's obviously off her rocker, wandering around in the heat. Muddled brains are so easy to persuade," the wolf cackled, feeling enormously pleased with his good fortune. But when the wolf searched the fields for Little Red Riding Hood's tottering granny, all he could see was a farmer riding a tractor. Impatient, he shouted, "Hey, old man, where's the ancient granny who lives in the house?" The farmer, though, seemed to hear nothing. "Very well," the wolf said with a snicker. "I love surprising these dim-witted hicks," and he began to silently sneak up behind the tractor.
I think he went to the wrong place.
Then, before the wolf knew what was happening, the farmer whirled around and grabbed him by his fancy suspenders. "Hold it right there, scoundrel," the farmer shouted. "What in tarnation do you think you're doing?" The wolf gasped and stammered, I'm looking for the frail, loony, muffin-baking granny who lives in the house." "Well, Sherlock," boomed the farmer, whose grip tightened on the wolf, "you're talking to her." That's Granny. She's the farmer."
Yeah.
The wolf's mouth dropped open and he began to shake. My, he finally whispered, "what big eyes you have, Grandma." "All the better to see you skulking around my fields," Grandma answered. "My, what big ears you have, Grandma," the wolf croaked. "All the better to hear you coming," Grandma answered. "My, what big hands you have, Grandma," the wolf groaned. "All the better to crush you like a bug, if need be," said Grandma. And lucky for the wolf, Little Red Riding Hood rolled up just at that moment.
But she's supposed to be sick.
Yeah, this is a different version. This is the prairie version. "Grandma, are you okay?" called Little Red Riding Hood. "Sure, sweetie," Grandma said. Together they marched the grumbling wolf to Grandma's kitchen. Grandma lecturing all the way. "Didn't you think if there was a Little Red Riding Hood, there might be a Big Red Riding Hood? I thought I got rid of bullies like you when I moved away from that forest." So remember, the original story took place in a forest. So this one's in the prairie. "Might as well have a bite to eat while we decide what to do next," Grandma said. The wolf for once was silent, his mouth full of the delicious muffins. "Of course," Grandma said at last. Soon after, Grandma opened her own muffin shop in town, just west of the post office. The wolf, he was her chief baker, sales clerk, and dishwasher, being kept much too busy to cause trouble for anyone. Naturally, the wolf got to eat all the muffins he wanted, which improved his disposition enormously. But just in case he got any ideas about stealing Grandma's recipe again, Grandma always put in the last ingredient herself. That says Grandma's Muffin Palace. Little Red Riding Hood, too, went to work for her grandmother, delivering muffins on her bike. Every day, rain or shine, the wolf carefully packed Little Red Riding Hood's basket. "Hey, kid," he called after her as she whizzed down Toad Road. "Don't talk to strangers." And Little Red Riding Hood never did again. Well, that was a different version.
Yeah.
Oh, Grandma's wheatberry muffins. There's the recipe that he was trying to steal. And look, Little Red Riding Hood is riding on the tractor with her grandma, helping her.
Yep.
They called each other some names in this book. We don't want to call each other any names, do we?
Yeah.
But this was a fun story. This one is If You Give a Cat a Cupcake.
This one. Oh, it tastes good.
If you give a cat a cupcake, he'll ask for some sprinkles to go with it. When you give him the sprinkles, he might spill some on the floor. Oh dear. Yeah. Got carried away decorating. Cleaning up will make him hot, so you'll give him a bathing suit and take him to the beach. He'll want to go in the water and build a sandcastle too. Then he'll look for seashells. He'll find a few other things as well. He'll put them in his pail and try to pick it up, but it'll be too heavy. He'll decide he needs to go work out at the gym. First, he'll warm up on the treadmill. Then he'll lift a weight or two. He even might try a karate class. After the gym, he'll want to go to the park. When you get there, he'll see the rocks. He'll climb as high as he can go. Well, that's scary. At the top, he'll see the lake. See down here? He'll want you to take him rowing in the rowboat. He'll be the captain and you'll have to row. Then he'll notice the merry-go-round and want to go for a ride. He'll want you to go for a ride too. You'll choose the horse with a purple mane and he'll get on the whale. The whale will remind him of the science museum. He'll ask you to take him there. First he'll find the dinosaurs. Then he'll visit the Hall of Apes. When the museum closes, you'll be the last to leave. On the way home, you'll pass by the beach. You'll help him gather all of his things. Then he'll want to race you. Yeah, there he goes.
Yeah.
When you get home, he'll empty the sand from his shoes. He might spill some on the floor. He should have done that outside.
Yeah.
Seeing the sand on the floor will remind him of the sprinkles. He'll probably ask you for some. What is that, seaweed from the beach?
Mm-hmm.
Must be. And chances are, if you give him some sprinkles, he'll want a cupcake to go with them. Silly kitty.
It's all messy.
And in this book, our virtue tonight is a heart filled with gentleness. In the Bible, in Titus 3:2, it says, "Be gentle and polite to all people." Oh, look at what's happening here. The little girl fell off the sled. It looks like they're throwing snow on her. They're not being very gentle with her, are they? It looks like they're being rough and made her cry. Look at even the snowman. He's like, oh, what are you boys doing to her? Right? Gentleness. Loud, rough, and rowdy describes most little boys. They run and they jump and they scatter their toys. But God's little boy is way different from these. He's gentle and calm and puts people at ease. Gentleness seems strange to an active young guy who thinks being gentle shows weakness inside. But gentleness is part of God's wonderful plan, as boys use their strength to help where they can. Look at now, they're being gentle.
Yeah.
They helped
They're
her.
pushing the sled and putting her on.
Right.
With her teddy
And
bear.
the snowman looks pleased now. He's like, good job, guys.
Yeah. And she has her teddy bear.
Right. Hope you like the stories tonight. Good night.